Today, we're not talking about business. We're talking about real life and what it actually takes to move to Spain. I'm joined by Kerry from Nerja Coffee Roasters. Kerry, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me again.
I love having you as our guest, and I love our chats all the time. First and foremost, we have your amazing coffee here, and if you haven't yet tried Kerry's coffee, you need to try it. I'm absolutely obsessed. It's amazing. But today I think we are going to talk about a topic that's super important, right? Because when people are moving abroad or preparing to move to the Costa del Sol, they're scrolling on Instagram, they're looking at, the lives that people have built. They can often fall into the comparison trap and they think it's all sangria, the seaside, all of the good stuff. But actually that's not always the case, right?
Yeah, I think it's really interesting because when you live in a kind of a holiday destination as such, I think people actually sort of think you're on holidays all the time.
100%.
and obviously it's the Costa del Sol is such a beautiful place to holiday that I think I see more of our friends from home now than I probably did when I lived at home, because people come out, they visit us, and I think there's kind of this idea that I want to do everything. I want to go out and be part of their holiday, but obviously because I have to work the next day, I have to be a little more sensible and not stay out until ridiculous hours and drink too many cocktails, which are just fabulous.
I know. But what you say is completely true, and I think it's important that we actually take some time to really dive into that. What is life actually like on the Costa del Sol, particularly in the early stages of your move? What is life actually like, but what does it actually take in terms of grit, determination, resilience, determination? What are the qualities that you need to decide in advance that you're going to adapt into your toolkit as you embark on your new life in Spain? And we're both at a little bit different stages of our journeys. I'm coming into year 9 now, and I think you're
year 3. Yeah. We've just passed year 3, so about 3.5 years we've been here now.
Absolutely. And I think, I know for myself, it really didn't start to feel like home, until probably after year 5 or year 6, where I really felt like, this is now home. I was always referring back to Ireland as home. It took a while to really make Spain feel like home, and it's important that we lift the lid a little bit on that and talk about the actual experience, because for people that might be scrolling online or following on Instagram or looking at different people's journeys remotely, it's very easy to feel alluded to the fact that, they have an amazing life over there is so easy. But yes,
it's like you said though with Instagram and stuff, I think people have the tendency to only show the good stuff.
Sure.
In all aspects of whatever industry you're in, people won't often talk about the things that are harder or more difficult. They're not as open about these things. And for me, I don't know how you felt, Sandra, but year 1, when I look back now on year 1, I feel like maybe it was very overwhelming, I think.
100%.
Because we have a guy that's just moved to Spain with his 2 daughters. His youngest daughter is in my daughter's class, and he's going through a lot of the stuff. And when you're kind of seeing someone else go through it, and you're like, I remember that.
Yeah.
Some of the challenges of understanding the systems in Spain. Like if you, for example, move anywhere, the laws, the rules, the regulations are going to be different. It doesn't matter what country you move to. It's not Spain specific as such, but starting to understand those requirements. Like I was just talking to this friend. He's kind of befriended us, I suppose, because my daughter goes to public school, and we're the only English speaking family in her class.
Okay.
I think in the school there might be other English speaking families, but we're the only ones. So because his Spanish, he wouldn't really be that like there yet with his Spanish. So he kind of looking to us as well a little bit for the advice.
Sure.
And talking to us about some of the paperwork stuff. And it reminded me of something the other day. He was telling me about, he was having some issues with bank stuff. And it reminded me of something, and I had completely forgotten about it. But when we first came here, you know, you have to show your, to get your residency and stuff, you have to show your bank account from Ireland. And in Spain, they love paper. They just love it so much. They're like, an email will often go unanswered, like, but paper they're really into. And Wesley actually had to fly back to Ireland to have our bank statement stamped in the bank in Ireland. And he was just telling me like that he's been having like all these issues with getting some of the bank stuff printed and all that. So learning the way that things run here, it takes a minute.
Yeah, it does.
It takes some time. Like, you've got to understand how they like to run things, and you have to be respectful of it, because obviously you can't just come in and try to change age-old systems. You know, you've got to flow, like, get into it, you know.
Absolutely. But Kerry, you mentioned something earlier there around, you know, family members when they're coming out to visit, that, you know, when you are living your life here in Spain and it's your normal life, we have to be very conscious of the fact of ensuring that we're not on a permanent holiday. And I know in my early years in Spain, especially during the summer period, that took a little bit of adjustment for me, because I almost felt a guilt that these people are coming to spend time with me on their holiday, and I was trying to juggle it all, work, see family, keep my household admin going, be mum to the kids, and it just actually became impossible to kind of keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, and be on everyone else's holiday with them. So I know for myself at that point, I kind of had to make a decision of like a 3-day rule. So when people come out over the weekend, I'll spend time with them, but then after that I have to integrate back into my normal life. Otherwise I was going insane trying to do it all, and I was just exhausted at the end of the holiday trying to keep matchsticks to keep my eyes open. And, you know, my bank balance was feeling the pinch, because I was, you know, enjoying myself on everyone else's holiday with them, and it just wasn't conducive long term. But, you know, summer in Spain, when you live here, it's not always a holiday, and I think it's important to call that out and be aware of that, right?
It's very hard to try to get the balance, because you are sitting like looking at everyone else on holiday, and you want to enjoy it as well. You're like roasting hot from the heat, and you want to go take your dip in the pool or whatever. So there definitely is like some trying to manage and balance all of the things, and I don't know that I've actually mastered it yet, so I'll take my advice from you, Sandra.
I'm no role model for that. I think we're all winging it every day and doing our best with it. But, you know, it is a case that people come over to see us because we are very lucky and privileged to live in this country and enjoy the lifestyle that it gives us. But I think for people that are on the outside looking in and they are thinking about relocating over, from my point of view, it's something to be conscious of and keep front of your mind, that you cannot be on a permanent holiday over here when you relocate. It's very much normal life, and you have to make it normal life.
Totally, and it's something you actually spoke about the other day. I saw you talking about it, like the burning your bum scenario.
Burntarts.com.
Do you know what? Like, it just literally rang home with me, because I'd be giving out to my husband. I'd be like, can you park like basically in the bush so that it gives enough sun shield that it stops the, and I think it's probably worse for us ladies, as we might be wearing something a little shorter than it is for the guys. But trying to, like, at the moment, like I said to you today, like one of the big stresses that I find at this time of year is the parking issue. You know, Spain has grown, like the amount of people who come on holidays, the amount of people who've chosen to live here. Like probably the rest of the world, I think Ireland has its own issues with how many people live there now, and the infrastructure isn't necessarily been able to keep up. So in Nerja, the parking is really, really difficult, and it adds a lot of extra time onto your daily life. Like even for me coming here today, like I asked you for multiple options for parking, because it's one of the really hard things of how, when we live in an area that is such a tourist destination and it expands so much in the summertime, you have to allocate extra time to all of your regular daily activities and all of your regular daily things that you're doing to compensate for. Even going into Lidl, for example, like it's going to take you longer because there's more people in there. You know?
It is, and I think we are living in a tourist resort, which is phenomenal, and people come on their holidays to this area. But when you're living as a resident all year round, you're right, you need to take some things into consideration when you're going about your life. But we were laughing about this, you know, when you mentioned there about parking. So yeah, be careful where you park your car, because you will end up with a burnt bottom.
And also understand, like going back to what we were saying about like with understanding the things here. My mother was here in April, parked in the wrong place, got towed away. So you like, I'm very paranoid about it now, because I noticed, like with the Spanish, I don't know, maybe they aren't as worried about it, but like you'll be like, oh yeah, well I seen someone parked there the other day, so I'm going to take that spot now, it's free today. But that could be on a yellow line, and they might have been lucky the other day, but you might not be lucky. And you have to be, like, I'm very, very careful with that, because I'm like, I'm not paying for getting towed, and, you 100%. Know,
So I think we've alluded to, you know, summer in Spain, you know, how busy it can get. We've talked a little bit about, you know, how the heat can affect your life, that, you know, sometimes it's a little bit more difficult to function in the heat, and you need to think about, you know, how you manage, I guess, going about your day-to-day life in the heat. But what would you say some of the pros are of living in Spain in the summertime?
Obviously, like, the main pros is that that's only a very short amount of time. Like, you know, I think if you think about, let's say you're living in Ireland, right? Like everybody knuckles down, bunkers down in January. So like January here is fabulous. It's absolutely beautiful.
I agree with you.
And nobody knuckles down. Everyone's out and about and enjoying the slightly cooler time. So summer is a little bit more of a hunkering down for like people who are trying to go about their daily routine. Like, you understand why they take siesta.
Yes.
Like we, you know, we've just opened a shop.
Yes. And congratulations.
Thank you. And we are abiding by siesta, which I think a lot of people will be like, but they're not from here. Why would they go with those siesta hours? But it is because, first of all, nobody's out in siesta time. It's unbelievably hot, and like at the moment with the shop, because we're just newly in there, we're not, we're trying to keep the doors open, so we're not using air conditioning. So you understand why they do 100%. It, and I think it makes so much sense. So the way that I kind of think about summertime is I'm just like, okay, it's just a month or two, and then I'm back to like absolutely normal, and I just enjoy getting into the pool and going for a dip in the sea, and I'm grateful for the fact that I have those things available to me.
No, absolutely. I totally agree with you on that. You do totally understand why siestas are important in summertime. For us in our life and how we work, it's something we have to adapt in the summertime, because obviously we're showing people around properties. It's not happening in the middle of the day when there's a lot of heat. It tends to be happening early in the morning and then later in the evening. So you're managing your life around that so that you're escaping that intense heat in the middle of the day. But as you say, the pros are, there's lots going on in the summertime. We get to experience ferias, fiestas.
Totally.
We have, you know, access to swimming pools. We can enjoy evenings in the beach when things cool down.
Totally.
And I think the pros, in my opinion, far outweigh any of the negativities that we might experience with it being over busy, and we need to think extra about parking.
Totally. I think like every single place that you choose to live in the world has, there's no like perfect place that ticks every single box, and it's kind of that case of like, well, like What is it? For me, I would much rather have 10 months of the year where I get to be outside and living my best life than, kind of being in the rain.
Absolutely,
all the
cooped
time.
up.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And I think our families see the benefit of that as well.
Yeah.
Because if I look at my own children, I spend a lot of time outside.
Totally.
And I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
Because I'm able to limit, I guess within reason, screen time. Because I'm able to, get them outside because they're interested in being outside in the sunshine.
Yeah.
I don't think they'd be as interested in being outside in the rain.
Yeah. We had a client come in to the shop the other day, and he was talking about his children not wanting to walk anywhere. And I was like, we don't really have that issue because I think when you live in Spain, you're very... everything, like especially in Nerja, Nerja is just a small little village, so you're so used to walking everywhere. So I never have any issues. My kids never complain about having to. My kids are like beyond independent with regards to all of that kind of. They head off into town and it's so safe as well, So.
You hit the nail on the head there. It's so safe. And I've spent some time this summer outside of Spain. What it really made me realise when I came back is how lucky we are, especially from a family point of view. The safety, the lifestyle that the kids have. Just what you mentioned there, like, yes, as a parent, you're always nervous about giving your kids autonomy and independence. But I feel safer here giving them autonomy and independence than I would in other places in the world because it is very, very safe and designed for families.
Totally. I for me, that is one of the biggest benefits of living here is that it's so family centered, and I absolutely, like, my kids go everywhere, and if we happen to stay out late, you're not judged.
No.
Because everyone else's kids are also out late, and I feel like from moving here, we've got so close and so tight-knit as a family.
I agree. And the timetable element does take a bit of adjustment. If I think back of my early days, that was one of the things that I really had to adjust with. I like to go to bed early. I'm boring, very boring person. I like to be in my bed early, and I like to get the kids kind of settled down. Well, that doesn't really happen over here. So in my early days, we didn't live where we live now. We were living in an apartment in a community, and I always remember my kids looking out the balcony like prisoners going, why are all the other kids allowed outside and we're not? So I really had to adjust our, I guess, rhythm in terms of how we lived and upgrade our routine so that it fitted into Spanish way of life. Otherwise my kids were going to be, a bit isolated because I was choosing to live a routine that just wasn't cohesive with living in Spain. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about, I guess, running a business here and the freedom to run the business here, but also some of the pressures. And I guess what you have to get used to when you're running a business in Spain. Tell me a little bit about some of the things that might have surprised you with setting up a business.
I suppose, like what we spoke about earlier, just like with understanding the rules and the laws and stuff. I think for me that's probably is the most challenging thing, because I think where you grow up, like obviously for me and you, it's Ireland. You begin to understand laws, rules and perimeters, life kind of restrictions from a young age, because you see your parents going through things, you see your neighbours going through things, and you understand what the rules and regulations are from a very young age. And where, like, what maybe you understand what things you can push, what things you shouldn't push.
Good point.
Things like that.
You're going to come across problems. You are going to come across things that don't go to your plan, because that's life. And I think that will happen irregardless of what country that you move to, because as you said, when you grow up in a certain country, you know the laws of the land, so to speak. So you kind of know how to navigate things. But when you move to a different country and you're establishing a business and a life there, you don't know, as you say, you're blind. But if you decide that you are going to be put off by every unplanned event or speed bump that happens along the road. Your journey and integration into the Costa del Sol or setting up a business here is not going to last very long.
No.
And I need to be really frank about
Yeah.
that, because
Totally.
you are going to have challenges, but you mentally need to prepare for those challenges. And if you come here with the mindset of I'm 1 foot here and 1 foot back home, go home, stay at home, because you're either 2 foot in, all in,
Yeah.
and
Totally.
invested in it, and you're going to commit to coming over challenges and prepare for it, or it is not going to work for you. And I feel kind of strongly about that, and I do say that to people quite a lot, that that's very important. Your mindset needs to be 100% in.
Yeah, I 1000% agree with you. And I think one thing you said at the very beginning was, what would you say gave you your grit? And I think that I grew up in the west of Ireland where there wasn't a huge job pool.
Okay.
And life wasn't so easy all the time. Like I'm from the countryside, I'm 5 miles from a town, and I do think that I have a lot of grit from that.
Okay.
And I think that what I have seen in my 3.5 years here is that if you grew up in a town, you probably are going to live more comfortably in a town here. Whereas like if you, like I live a little bit out in the countryside, not super far out to be honest, but if you grew up in the countryside, you understand what life in the countryside is like.
Yeah.
For example, if you forgot the sugar,
Yeah.
you know that
You're a bit remote.
yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing I've seen, and that's not exclusive to here. Like, I mean, I think the people that moved to where I'm from in Ireland, because like we had a huge influx of people coming from England or different places to Ireland, and they have these issues also. Like if they're used to popping to the shop, like I talked to some of the mums about it, even like, and a lot of the people obviously live in town. We're one of the few that live a little bit out. And they'll say the same thing. Oh God, no, I'm so used to just popping getting my bread.
Yeah.
Whereas I understand, oh right, okay. Or for example, going back to the parking thing, like there's one place I really like to go for my bread. Now at the moment it is so busy. And if I don't get down there early in the morning, I won't get parking to go and get it. So you understand these things when you kind of come from that background. But if you're trying to, so like let's say for example you had someone moving over who was from a city, and they said to you, oh, I want to move over to Spain and I want a beautiful villa in the countryside. That might not be the best thing to do at the start.
Yes.
They might be better off to try living like and integrating a little bit and understanding the life here first.
I totally agree with you.
And then eventually get there. So like it's good to have like shorter term goals, longer, and not, what's that saying? Eat the whole cake, take a bite instead of eating the whole whatever.
You need to slice the elephant down.
Yeah.
People often say to me, oh, tell me a little bit about this location, and is it touristy, and what location should I pick? Let's say Benalmádena, for example. I won't answer that question. I will answer that with another question.
Yeah.
And the question I will ask you is, well, tell me a little bit about what lifestyle you want in Spain.
Yeah.
Okay, and
totally.
describe it to me, because it isn't as black or white as you exactly say there. It's not as black or white as putting a pen down and picking a location and choose from there.
Yeah.
You have to really imagine what you're like and what type of mentality you have to support that lifestyle.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you.
And I think you'll be more successful if you kind of take smaller goals rather than, like even with us starting our business, like we started our business from our house. Now we've gone into a shop. But we, like the longest time, probably even the last time I was here, I was like, oh no, I'm never getting a shop. But eventually I got to that point where I was like, okay, now I'm ready to take another slice out of that, so.
I think setting up a business in any country is tough work. So that's going to require you to invest in your own mindset, irregardless of where you base yourself. But something that surprised me here on a positive perspective was that balance is more accepted. So you can work hard and have your business, but you are not, I guess, I don't know if this is the right word, but you don't feel as guilty or shamed if you decide to take time out and enjoy your life and be with your family.
I totally agree with you.
I have never experienced that in other countries. I feel that we get caught up in the rat race. We get sucked into, you know, the go, 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 always on hustle, hustle, hustle culture.
Yeah.
Whereas one thing I really appreciate about living here on the Costa del Sol and having a business here is that, yes, I can do that, but I can also choose to switch off. And I feel it's really culturally accepted here.
Totally. I 1000% agree with you. I think it's really, really interesting because there's like tomorrow, for example, is some kind of saint day. They're all saints days here.
A bank holiday tomorrow.
Yeah. And it was up in the Facebook groups of what are the opening hours of the shops, the stores. It's very accepted here that you will be closed for Saints' Days, for Easter, and people understand, like, you don't have to try to manage someone's expectation. They already know that that's going to happen, and that's part of the culture, as you say.
I found that really refreshing.
I think it's great. I think it's absolutely great.
Where I come from, that is not the culture. It's the opposite, actually, where you almost have to feel like you're asking for permission to enjoy that balance of life.
Or like you have to put that hard boundary of like for example, because we were working out of the house and we were trying to build up our business, I think we were very accessible. And as our business has grown, that was something I wanted to start to put into place, was that I'm not going to be accessible 24/7. And getting into the shop has obviously really has helped us, because we actually have an horario, as they say in Spanish. So we have hours. And I had one of my clients texted me on a Sunday, and I just said to myself, you know what, I'm not going to answer that. It's like I gave myself the permission. I said, I'm not going to answer that. And I went ahead and I let it, sit there. And I even got an extra message, and I still was like, no. And the next day I answered it, and he actually apologized to me.
Good.
For texting me on a Sunday.
I'm proud of you.
And that was a Spanish person. So, I think it's, we have to do it as well. But like you said, it's also culturally accepted, which makes it easier for us to do.
I massively appreciate that. Now I want to quiz you a little bit on some of the things that I always get asked. Okay. And, just tell me your take on these things. So, learning Spanish, for example. I'm just going to say those two words, learning Spanish. You give me Kerry's download to that.
It's been a lot harder than I expected.
Okay.
Yeah, I spent 6 months in South America in 2009 before I had children, my husband and I. One of those months was in a school, and I was living my best life.
Okay.
Backpacking around. Thought I was so good at Spanish. I mean, who knows? Maybe I was pretty good. I have no idea. Like, I obviously had a bit more time to actually study Spanish.
Okay.
I expected moving to Spain that within a year I would be flying it. I'm 3.5 years here now, and I'm just getting to the point where I'm feeling really confident, I would say, is probably the best way to say it. I put a lot of effort into learning Spanish. For example, I'm always working on my learning. So the very first year I tried to do some classes, and I think I was a little bit overwhelmed with a lot of the stuff that I was trying to do. So within the second year, I went about to get classes, and I did a class every week. I now do more stuff like intercambios.
Yeah.
What I just started doing lately is I've been reading to my son. So it's such a role reversal, and that's tough as a parent, because we're so used to correcting our children and teaching our children that it's completely the opposite now. So my kids are phenomenal in Spanish now. And I sit down, my son, they're in Ireland at the moment for a couple of weeks, but when my son is here, we sit down for about half an hour and I read to him and he corrects me.
Kerry, that's the same in my house.
Yeah.
You know, my children have to correct me because I'm just not at the same level as them.
No.
And I accept that.
Yeah, you have to. You have to understand that if you want to continue your personal learning and your personal journey, you have to accept that little bit of a role reversal. And it's okay. Like it's, you know, I think I'm so determined that I want to be able to converse very well. I mean, I need to. I actually need to. I have to deal with the town hall. I have to deal with Spanish clients. So I need to be able to converse well. And I'm very lucky that my son is a very patient little human being.
Love that.
And it is interesting because going back to what you're saying about like you do the same. They're in school for 5 hours every day where they're learning the rules and regulations of the language.
Yeah.
Like Caleb was telling me, like, I've really come on a lot since, because he not only corrects my Spanish, but he sometimes translates stuff for me.
Yeah.
So he'll say, "Oh, do you know what that means, Mammy?" And I'd be like, I say to him, "No, I'm not worried about what it means. I'm just trying to get all the words out." And he's like, "No, Mammy, like I can help you with like understanding some words." And I'm like, "Okay." So he'll tell me some of the things and what they mean.
That's fab.
And he was telling me like this one word that I pronounced. I said I pronounced it, and he was like, "No, Mammy." And then I corrected myself, and he said, "No, actually, Mammy, you said it right the first time." And he goes, "We learned about this in school. There's 3 words that are the exception because they come from the old Spanish, and like they're learning the rules that I suppose it takes a lifetime to learn."
And we get, it's another area where we get in our own way, and we just have to absolutely take the pressure off.
Yeah,
My next question is building community.
If I had time, I'd probably, I'll be honest with you, Sandra, I have so many friends, they're coming out my ears, and I'm very privileged. I mean, my husband and I are both very extroverted people, so we know a lot of people. Like my dad comes over and he just be like, "Jesus," like walk around the town and everyone like, but you know, I think when you come from a place where you've been friends with people since your childhood, you don't really have to make there's not an expectation of effort.
Sure.
You know, you meet up, or they're busy, you're busy, so you're meeting up every few months and you just slot back in. Whereas I think to make new friends, you have to put time and effort into friendships. And that's not something I have a huge amount of availability of time. You know, business, learning Spanish, mom, all of the things. So I do have loads of friends, but like, because my kids are in Ireland at the moment, I have a little bit more free time. And I met this lady the other week, and we hadn't seen each other for 1.5 years, but we got on really good. And we text each other and she's laughing at me. She's like, "Oh, next year when we see each other again." And it's like, it's not that I don't get along with her, or I don't like, same with the mum, some of the Spanish mums, like they're busy with their lives and you're busy, and to really nourish and put the time and effort into a friendship, it's not the easiest thing. But the community is, I think, because I live in a small town, I think Nerja is a lot smaller than Benalmádena, so I have no idea how it is for you, for example. But for me, it's they have that community because the town is so small.
And life is lifing, right? And, you know, you call out a very valid point there. Time can get in the way if you're building community. And like, if you're somebody who's coming over to retire over here, you're going to be in a different place of your life than somebody who's coming and relocating with a family. So if you're retiring, you know, building community is going to be your priority number 1. If you're moving with a family, your priority number 1 is going to be integrating your family. This was an area I really struggled with in the beginning. I was looking online, again, falling into the comparison trap, at people that had maybe moved at a similar time than me. And I was getting like a bit stressed out that they seemed to have built very good social networks and connections. And I just didn't have the bandwidth to do that because I was integrating into another job and I was trying to make sure my family were happy. So, you know, we have to be realistic with the amount of time that we have. And, you know, if you are moving with a family, yes, you'll build community when you can.
Yeah.
Through the mums at the school or through other ways. But if you're relocating because you're retiring, you're going to have more time to play with that socially. And I think that's important to call out for sure. So, Kerry, tell me this. Is there any final points of wisdom that you would like to share with anybody watching today who is considering or preparing for their big move to the Costa del Sol?
I suppose the biggest thing is keeping it in mind, your why.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, so for example, for me, something you talked about earlier, and I kind of wanted to say to you, when we were talking about the time change and the hours and fitting into the hours here, the days are really long here. Like, you get a lot of light.
Yeah.
And it seems to be something that me as a human, I'm very light sensitive.
Okay.
So I went, you were saying you spent some time outside of Spain this summer. I went to Vienna for Christmas a couple of years ago, and it got dark at 4 o'clock.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, couldn't wait to get back to like
very
you're saying
depressing.
about home.
Yeah.
Like, it does feel like home for me. And being outside and having that outdoor lifestyle is something that I need as a human. It's kind of like, you know, those like wants and needs. I think that was, now as I'm older, I'm understanding that that's a necessity for me. Being outside, being in touch with nature. Like, me and my husband are hilarious. Like, our favorite time to go to the beach is in the winter time.
Yes.
And we go and we lie on the beach for 20 minutes. And now I'm hiding from the sun right now, because obviously with sensitive skin, Irish skin, you can't be out there all day in the height of the sun. But my why is almost like a necessity of, I need the light, I need the outdoor lifestyle, but I also want to be close to home, where if I need to pop back to Ireland, I can do it. So living in Australia, I lived in Australia and I loved it. Absolutely loved it. But to come home, it's not a quick trip. And so I think that's when times are tough.
Yes.
When you're struggling with integration, or you're struggling to figure out how how to learn Spanish or whatever that is, if you can remember your why, or like what you said there as well, you spent some time outside. Sometimes you forget these things. Like, I haven't really been outside of Spain that much since I've lived here, because I'm obviously really busy. But we've got some friends over at the moment, and like, once they start talking to you about things that are happening at home or telling you stuff, you realize, oh yeah, I've got it pretty good, haven't I?
Yeah.
You know, so even when you are having a tough day, or you feel a little lonely because you left your friend circle at home and you're seeing them on Facebook and they're all out having a drink, you just have to think about, well, I'm going for my cocktail later on, and it's going to cost me half the price of theirs. So I think just keeping, like, sometimes it's hard to stay positive over things. And if you do have, like, you and I have a tendency to like, obviously you live in a totally different place than me, but we just get on the phone and we just kind of talk about our little things sometimes, and that's all you need sometimes, you know. So I think probably that is my biggest advice to somebody is, like, if you are struggling with the integration or some part of it, just kind of remember your why, and try to take that minute to think about the good things that you do, your pop to the beach or whatever that is,
because there's so much of that.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Always anchor into your why, and remember your big reason for being here. That is going to be your guiding star as you prepare to relocate to the Costa del Sol. Kerry, thank you for being our guest today.
Thank you so much for having me.
All your wisdom. And if you are in Nerja, do pop into Kerry and Wes's new store, Nerja Coffee Roasters. And Kerry, please tell our listeners how they can find you online if they would like to reach out or follow your journey.
Yeah, so we're basically on every possible platform. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, Facebook, have a website. Yeah, Nerja Coffee Roasters, nerjacoffeeroasters.com. And we're as receptive as possible to be.
Amazing coffee. As I said, I'm obsessed. So please do check Kerry out online. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
And thank you for stopping by.